me, what was the concept behind Control?
It's based on a non-fiction book by Kevin Kelly called Out of Control, which was the co-founder of Wired magazine, and it's in his book he talks about how technology and biology will fuse in the future, and we'll kind of relinquish some of our control as humans to it for our own benefit. And in his book he outlines the 9 laws of God, which is his kind of commandments for how this technological revolution is going to take place. And we imagined a character who took those laws as a kind of call to arms, and builds a program based on those principles. And we kind of just rolled with the punches from there in terms of the rest of the story.
It's an incredibly bold project because it's a first-time feature, isn't it, for you? Yeah. And it's you couldn't have chosen something like a bit more difficult, really, could you? It's quite a challenge. I mean, what were the challenges when you were making it and during production?
Well, I mean, we didn't have a massive budget, so in fact we had a tiny budget. So the whole way through we were having to be very creative in order to make that work, and we the storytelling had to be very tight in order to hopefully get around the fact that we couldn't do the big set pieces or the explosions. And the scalelectrics that we use, which is a kind of big set piece in the film, is the idea was that we could have a car chase, but it was on a very, very small scale. Yeah. And it was a nightmare to film, in fact, because we've been playing around with scalelectrics for years.
I have to say, you couldn't really tell that it was a small budget. I actually thought it looked incredibly polished and very, very, very good. I mean,
thank you. Very kind.
I watched it. It was one of 22 films I watched in the last couple of weeks, and it was definitely up there in terms of production terms, I thought.
Oh, that's very kind.
I mean, I think one of it's the old trick, but it's a good one, of setting it in a single location and with very few actors. You can afford to pile all your resources in one place. So we went down that route, the classic route of low budget horror.
So Julian, you obviously starred the lead role, and you produced the movie as well. Is it challenging having a dual role and balancing those?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a split personality sort of thing, because we'd stay up late planning the next day's shoot, and it was quite a small crew, so I was doing props as well, and then come and I'd sort of learn my lines in the night, and then come in the morning I had to sort of try and be the being character, which was quite a weird kind of dual thing. But I really enjoyed it. I got a lot from seeing the other side, because normally I'm just an actor.
Yeah, and I did think, I put in the review, I thought your performance was magnificent. I thought it got more and more intense as it went on. Where did you draw inspiration from for the character?
I think that the Cronenberg's The Fly is that character is just fantastic, and I think the sense of being more in love with the creation than necessarily seeing the truth of the scenario, that for me was a huge thing. And yeah.
And Harry, from your perspective, for a first-time feature, what lessons did you learn that you'll take forward to your next film or your next project?
I think there's a weird sense watching the film now of not really having ownership of it, where despite doing many of the jobs on the film, from the script we wrote to the script we shot to the script we edited, they're just completely different movies, and if it kind of felt like the film was leading me through and I was just having to kind of there's many things that didn't go as planned. There was many scenes that just had to be on the cutting room floor, and then we had to work around the edit because we didn't get the right coverage, because we didn't have enough time, etc., etc. So I think in the future I'd like to have more control over the process, and I think with just experience I want to be able to make more the film I wrote and kind of steer it through, and I think that's just an experience thing, really. But that was a ironic and weird feeling watching a film called Control, which you kind of felt like did its own thing. I'm happy with the result, but it's a weird detachment there, despite having worked on it.
I mean, I guess for both of you, with having such involvement, you from the production side as well, the acting and directing and writing, I imagine you watch it back now, and there's things that you want to change, are there? Things that you wish you could have done? Or?
I think naturally there's always going to be the thousands of other films that we could have made along the way, and you kind of... but it's been... what, 6 years since you wrote the first draft? Yeah. So we're it's impossible if trying to think about all of those things is too difficult. I'm very happy with the way that it turned out.
The doors,
but of course,
as you go down the steps of making the film, certain doors close on you. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't get the coverage for a particular scene, or if in the colour's just way off in the scene and it's kind of unrecoverable, or there's all sorts of little things along the way, and then it means you have to use this scene, which means you have to use that scene. So doors close all around you. So it's, in a way, the film could only be the one it is now, and it's kind of hard to nitpick now because I'm like, well, yeah, I don't like it, but it's what it has to be. So yeah, I don't know. There's not much I could change now. I did spend ages fine cutting at the end, but I mean, you're just at the mercy of what you've got at the end of the day. But.
And what kind of feedback did you have after it screened at FrightFest?
It was very positive. We had, lots of family and friends who would probably not say anything different to that.
We had a lot of backers from the Kickstarter campaign that we ran for it who could attend the screening, so it was really nice for them to see it at its world premiere in London, and they all seemed very positive.
No, it was quite overwhelmingly positive, which was really nice, very nice.
And yeah, for like a first film to get into FrightFest as well, I mean, what's that feeling and what's that process been like?
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's cool, right? Yeah.
We got rejected from loads of smaller festivals, but less said about that the better. No, it's amazing, and it's great for us that it's in London where the film was shot and where we were brought up, and for it to be Leicester Square, it's just very cool. And Prince Charles Cinema I've been going to for years as well, so yeah, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah. So what projects have you both got coming up next?
Well, I'm writing another horror sci-fi feature film, which is an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet set in South London in 2038, after a kind of apocalyptic event. But that's sort of as far as I've got right now. But that's what I'm working on, and a few music videos, on the side as well.
Yeah, and I'm auditioning. I'm a working actor, so whatever comes up next, could be anything. Yeah.
Do you have any more plans to produce after this experience?
I'd love to produce. I'd probably only do it in this relationship with Harry. I don't think it's something that I want to pursue going forward, at least until I've quite a long way down the acting road and be able to command the budget and have the control. I think that doing it on a shoestring was very rewarding but difficult, and I don't think that's necessarily my skill set.
So the last question then for you, I've been asking everybody this weekend and everyone's hated this question because it's difficult to answer, but what's your favourite horror film of all time and why?
I was actually thinking about this quite a lot recently. Well, if you're going to call Alien a horror movie, I think Alien's fantastic, and then in a slightly more traditional sense, I think Halloween is fairly flawless and like perfect kind of stock movie. I also got a real soft spot for My Little Eye, which was one of the first horror movies I watched, and just being impressed by how scary that was. That still haunts me.
And I know it's a new one, but It Follows for me was absolutely brilliant in that it's genre bending completely. The low level tension without any jump scare moments I thought was brilliant.